Hi all. These are generally conversations between adults after the children have left the table. The language can be spicy and the subjects can get saucy. So if you're ready, this is the Southern Fork. Unscripted kitchen chats and also studio chats with some of the most interesting voices in the culinary South. I'm Stephanie Burt, a food and beverage writer based in Charleston, South Carolina, who travels with her fork to write for a variety of publications, from magazines you might have on your coffee table to the website you love to visit for your favorite recipes. And I'm inviting you to come behind the scenes with me to get to know the people who make this Southern culinary landscape so special. I'm always hungry for the next bite, thirsty for that next sip, and ready for the next conversation. Let's dig in. The Southern Fork is honored to be presented again this year by Townsend Automotive in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Celebrating 50 years of service in Tuscaloosa and West Alabama, the Townsend family of dealerships has been a locally owned company built on service and connection with its customers. At Townsend Honda, with new cars in short supply, they've purchased more than 200 quality pre-owned vehicles. And every one of them goes through a 118-point inspection before it's offered for sale to you. Most of those vehicles are either Honda Certified Pre-Owned or Townsend Certified Pre-Owned, and the dealership also has a fully staffed parts and service department to assist you beyond the purchase day throughout the life of your vehicle. That includes Saturday service, which is available until 1 p.m., even during football season. Visit townsendhonda.com for current inventory, or if you're in West Alabama, stop in. Townsend Honda salutes local entrepreneurs, from restaurateurs to podcasters, and they welcome you to be part of a community that does the same. Located just 40 minutes away from Asheville, North Carolina, but in many ways still a secluded secret, the Swag's 250-acre property includes distant views of the mountain city from its elevation, luxurious rooms, a spa, and plenty of rest and relaxation in rocking chairs on porches. Originally built as a private family retreat, this feels a lot like an adult summer camp, and that includes access to the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, mere steps from the guest rooms. Chef Jake Schmidt is responsible for keeping all guests fed in this remote retreat, and that includes 4-course dinners, picnic backpacks filled with homemade energy bars and nutritious lunches, and sit-down breakfasts each morning. As the former executive chef of the Omni Grove Park Inn, he's familiar with the region and the needs of the kind of luxury travel that looks to the Blue Ridge Mountains for escape. His Midwest roots keep him grounded in this resort above the clouds, and there's always something delicious around that next trail corner. Welcome to the Southern Fork.
Thank you very much.
I'm very happy that I get to be your first podcast. That's very fun.
I'm pretty excited about it.
So I've been here for 24 hours. I really kind of wanted to get into the swag vibe. And the first thing I realized is I needed to slow down a little bit. Time is a little bit different up here on the mountain as a guest.
Yes, absolutely. And you can't understand that until you experience it as a guest. It really does almost stop.
Right. And I think it is that adult summer camp thing. Because, you know, there are no televisions in the room. Not that I don't have a television at home, but it's really more about the environment, having quick access up here. And so it does take a moment to slow down, but I'm thinking this is like a duck with the feet underwater from your side, because you're having to feed us 3 times a day. And you're having to work with, you know, individual sourcing and stuff. So how many people do you have to feed on a normal basis? Because this place is booked through April. So we're at full capacity all the time.
Correct. Just to give you an idea of like how booked we are, in 2021, we finished out the year at 98% occupancy.
Wow.
This year we're at 93, I think, right now, but we'll easily get over 96 for the end of the year. We're not worried about that. So typical day for me and my staff, we serve anywhere between 25 and 45 guests for breakfast. And then we do bag lunches some days. Then we also have brunch, and then we have picnics. So every day is different, which is nice up here. When we do bag lunch days, we allow outside guests to come on property, walk around, fill them up with food, and, just enjoy the property. So we can go anywhere from 35 to 65 guests for lunch. Then we also feed the staff lunch and dinner. Today, for example, we're feeding 28 staff. The most is about 36.
I saw they had the leftover fried chicken I wasn't able to get yesterday at your picnic.
You should have came early.
I know. I couldn't do it. I couldn't get up here.
Yeah, but then on picnic days, like yesterday we did, I think it was 58 when we were finally done, which is, we found that that's like our comfort zone, where 55 to 58 is just a really good number of people. It doesn't feel like there's too many people up there, but then we also get a lot of people that can experience it. Because we do have guests that are departing that day that stay for the picnic, and then we do have guests that are coming in that day that come in early specifically for the picnic. And it's because of the popularity of it. Last year, we actually added another picnic. It used to only be on Wednesdays, but now it's Wednesdays and Saturdays. And then for dinner service, 6 nights a week, we do a 4-course meal, which you get to choose your own entree and dessert. And that is usually about 35 to 48 people, just depends on house count and then how many people we have coming in and out. Another nice perk of the swag is, as an employee, you get a free meal for you and a guest, and you get to pick which meal period you come in for. So a lot of people opt for barbecue night, which is tonight, Thursday night, but then a lot of other people pick out picnic, Wednesday or Saturdays. Compared to what I've done in my past career, it's a very small amount of people. But, for us, it's great. It's the right amount of people. It's very intimate. It's great. And the swag never loses its luster and how small and tight it is.
Yeah, so there's just a lot of different moving parts, so it keeps it interesting for you, but there's a cycle to it. And I'm just fascinated in general with supply chains and sourcing, and that was really boring before the pandemic to other people, but it got a lot more interesting after 2020. And you have a garden, but you also are, way up here, and it's a little hard to get, like if you run out, you can't run across the street to the Kroger and get more stuff, like if you run out of blackberries. So talk to me about what kind of ingredients you like to keep on the hill at the swag.
Let me start first off. Planning has everything to do with not running out of product here. Not saying that we don't, because everybody's, human, but we do our best to not run out of product here. I source from very, very many different sources. My biggest source is Cheney Brothers. Out of Statesville, North Carolina. That's mostly because they're a broadliner that also has very unique, good quality ingredients. And then they also service us with Joyce Farms, which is majority of where our meat proteins come from. And then we also use Halpern's out of Atlanta, just because their fish program is pretty much the best on the Eastern Seaboard. They also have a really good meat program too. And then they've got really good wild mushrooms and oils and vinegars and stuff like that we can source from. Gourmet Foods International out of Atlanta for pretty much all of our cheese and charcuterie needs. Then we have a very small little produce company called Christopher Farms here in Waynesville that they actually have a farm attached to the back of them. They grow corn and squash, tomatoes, stuff like that. We get a majority of our produce from them. Then we use a couple other local farms. The biggest one I use right now is called the Culinary Gardener. His name is Evan Chender. He's out in Reems Creek.
Right. I've heard of him.
Yeah, I go there every Wednesday, pick up at his farm, and then bring it home and then bring it to the swag on Thursday morning. That's been a really good benefit for us as a culinary team, and then the swag guest is, produce, you talk about ultra premium, this is it. That is not only beautiful and perfect, but tastes excellent. Then as far as other things, I order a lot of stuff off of the internet just because it's really easy, because even though it is kind of rough to drive up here, UPS and FedEx do come up here all the time. So that for me is a good way to supplement some of this other stuff. All of the trucks except for Halpern's actually drive all the way up the hill. They meet us at the welcome cabin. We unload there, take a golf cart up top, and then bring it into the kitchen.
That's great. Well, it's just interesting. The Blue Ridge Mountains are varied. And I've spent a lot of time over the years. I've actually been a past resident here, but we are 5,000 feet up. That means we're actually above the clouds. So today it's a very overcast day, maybe even a little rainy in Asheville, and the sun is shining brightly because we're above their clouds. That's a unique challenge as a chef when before you even get into the kitchen. And this is a resort. Being a resort chef is an interesting challenge as well. What really attracts you to this kind of puzzle fitting? Because this is a puzzle all the time. Like if you were a neighborhood bistro, it would be kind of simpler.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the challenge is what really attracts me to it. I've worked at other jobs, that were a lot more streamlined, a lot more basic and easier, but we did much more volume and, it was really about the bottom line and, making money. And that's what I love about this place. It's not about making money. Mm-hmm. It's about making memories and making the guests happy. So
what is the staff's favorite food? Because you feed them all the time. What do they love?
So they have quite a few things that they really like.
Because that's a good suggestion for what we should get too.
Yeah. So some staff favorites for family meal are curry, just straight curry, vegetables, and rice. They're a big fan of that. Chicken and dumplings. We do this thing we call it giant sandwich, where we make these huge hoagie loaves and just stuff it to the gills with meat and lettuce, tomato, cheese, mayonnaise, just everything, and cut it into these giant pieces. And they love Big Sandwich Day. Mm-hmm. We also do Philly cheesesteaks sometimes. Pizza is a big hit here. And then, pasta. They love noodles. They love noodles and carbs and starch. And I could serve them potatoes every day and they'd be happy.
Well, you are from Chicago, and this is very much a place that is connected to environment. And so your food has to reflect that as well. How did you start to get into Southern food and Southern Appalachian food? What was that first ingredient that kind of was a key that turned it on for you, that made it interesting? I
wouldn't say it was an ingredient, but it was my first mentor. He's from West Virginia, and he's a good old Southern boy and learned how to cook from his mom. Mm-hmm. And I worked for him.
What's his name?
His name's Todd Stoner. He's up in Northern Illinois still. He's actually the executive chef for Uline Packing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's where I kind of got into Southern food. Growing up in Chicago, there's some places like Bob Evans and stuff like that, but it's not real Southern food.
No one wants to use Bob Evans.
Exactly. But I'm saying that's what we had up there at the time.
Of course. Yeah, they make a decent mashed potato, I think.
Yeah, I think the one that got me was Southern fried chicken with collard greens. Learning how to fry like somebody's great-great-grandmother fried chicken. Mm-hmm. Cast iron only, just using the basics, buttermilk, flour, season it up real nice.
So you do wet dredge?
We do, wet dredge.
Mm-hmm. And you like the seasoning, and then so you don't deep fry.
So I've progressed from there.
Oh, okay.
So yes, currently we've switched back to deep frying. I find the crust adheres a lot better. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that I do too. The other thing we do too, and you should try this the next time you fry it. It only has to be in the buttermilk for a little bit of time. It's actually better to keep it in the flour for longer. It'll adhere more and get way crispier. Oh. So what we'll do is we'll put it in the buttermilk the night before. Then the morning of, we dredge it and then continually stir it for about 3 hours before we fry it. And that's how that crust just stays on there.
Buttermilk is just such a wonderful Southern ingredient. And buttermilk changed my own chicken game because I like chemistry. And number one, you marinate chicken in buttermilk overnight. It's lactic acid. It sucks all that moisture in, and suddenly you've got this super tender, juicy chicken that kind of hedges your bets, right? Absolutely. And then that's just a great tip for that kind of fried chicken. I understand the love of fried chicken because it is actually my very favorite food of all time. So when I came in yesterday and saw it and I was hungry, I was like, oh. But, I love staff meal when I was waiting tables and stuff. But what's one of the things that's really frustrating for you here? I know it's such a beautiful resort. It's hard to mention a frustration, but is there a challenge that really just always seems to still remain a challenge as a chef?
Yeah, it's turning away guests. Mm-hmm. We are only so big, but yet we are so popular. that we literally turn away more people than we actually take, just because of our size and the intimacy of it and the nature of the beast. And so I constantly get asked, Chef, we are already fully booked. I got 2 people that want to come. And it's like, I'm sorry, we're fully booked. That's what fully booked means. But that being said, there are frustrations in life and jobs and everything. Staffing is a challenge in my field, not just here in my field right now.
No, everywhere. Yeah.
I'm doing a little better than my friends in Asheville, but we just had a rough week where we've got 1 kid out on COVID. We had to terminate somebody, and then we had somebody go AWOL on us. So it's a rough week, but we stop, we pause, we look at the schedule, we try and make sure that we got all the coverage. The nice thing is we know how many people we need in the kitchen in order to service X amount of guests. And so if we don't have enough people, then it's throwing up the flag. Like, we need some help, little SOS here. And the nice thing is about working here is the back of the house team, everybody here is all part of the same family. We all want the same goal. And so when I throw up that flag, I get 2 to 3 people saying, all right, I can help you out. All right, we can do this. All right, we can do that. So that's what's really nice about this place, and part of the reason why I'm probably going to stay here till I retire.
Yeah, well, I mean, I sat next to somebody at dinner last night or the table over, and I heard them saying this was their 9th time being here. So,
that's a baby.
Yeah.
We have people that have been here over 30 times.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's just amazing. Yeah, and it's amazing, for them to come back and have that familiarity, and it does feel a lot different than a traditional hotel or even it's not a bed and breakfast, but it feels a little more intimate than just a boutique hotel. One of the things that is really intimate here is that, like, when you do these big dinner services, you do wine pairings. Do you work with the bar staff and taste through things with them, or do they weigh in more? Tell me how that kind of works, because that's where we're sitting today. We had a little mini peek into the wine cellar before we sat down to chat.
So we do have a director of wine who gets with myself, my executive Sue, my chef de cuisines, to talk about the menu, because our menu changes every day. It's different every single day, so the wine pairings are going to change every day. The nice thing is our meat proteins are pretty static. Like, we run filet, New York, ribeye, back to back to back. Then we'll run poulet rouge, rack of lamb, pork tenderloin, quail, duck, stuff like that. And then fish, we're in the mountains, we get good fish, but not the best fish. That's why I'm really happy about Halpern's, because Atlanta's a hub, so I'm able to get really good fish from Atlanta. We get a lot of the same stuff in because, our average guest stay is about 2.5 days. So in 4 days, I can just rerun stuff. And so what's nice is we can build the pairings to improve throughout, where, we can have a dinner service, where we're pairing Pinot with the lamb, and it pairs, but maybe we got something that pairs better. And so we can try it out the next time. Oh man, this is so much better. The Sangiovese or whatever we're pairing with. So that's what's nice about it. So we can constantly adjust and make it even better for the guests.
Do you like the feeling of once you're here, you're on the whole time? I mean, because I don't know many chefs. I know a lot of chefs, but I don't know many chefs who would be able to come here as early as you do, driving from North Asheville, and cook all day, have everything ready and have a staff that's going to cook as much as you do. I mean, when you're here, I can pop in and so can anybody else, and you have to be on. And I know a lot of chefs don't like front of house. Do you like it?
I used to not, but this place made me like it. And it's mostly because of our guests. They're the nicest people in the world. And they're really, truly interested to talk to you and know about what you're doing and what's coming up. And I had this that was fantastic. What did you do to it? It makes it warm and very open. And that's also the type of place that this is, you can talk to any of the staff. You should not feel afraid, that somebody's going to bark down your throat for asking for something.
Right.
You ask for something, we're going to get it for you. To me, it's nice. It's actually refreshing. Yeah. My last few jobs, I hated talking to the customers. I'm 100% honest. Here, I love it. They're fantastic.
A lot of people gravitate toward the kitchen because they want to communicate through their food. They don't want to communicate through their voice, and being in front of people. They want to say what they need to say in their food. And so when those guests come back 30 times, you've been here 6 years. Are you starting to see familiar faces?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm terrible with names, which is sad. But I do my best. I do my best to look at the guest list and be like, all right, I remember them, and try and remember what they like, or, what they don't like, or whatever. But yeah, familiar faces. Absolutely. It's great to see people, and they'll pop to the window in the kitchen and be like, hey, chef, great to see you.
Yeah.
Breakfast was great. Thank you. I'm like, awesome. Good to see you.
Yeah, that's
and
so
I'll turn
nice.
around and be like, who was that again? Because again, I am terrible with names.
Well, I think everybody in the world says that, even the people that are good with names. But speaking of breakfast, we had that chorizo dish.
Mexican scramble?
Yeah, it was delicious.
Yeah, it's a
and
tasty
not
little dish.
super spicy. And there was tortilla chips. It was just very different. Do you feel that you can creatively play like that? Like if you want to bring in something different, like the Mexican scramble for a breakfast, do you feel like you have the creative freedom to do whatever you want here?
Oh, myself and my chefs have 100% creative freedom. The only thing we're held down to is whether or not the guests enjoy it. We're not held down to cost on anything. So it's one of those dream chef jobs where you can literally do what you want, as long as the guests are happy. It's all that really matters to the owners. Because the way they look at it is, we'll eventually make money. As long as the people are happy, that's really all that matters here. So yeah, that one actually came out of a special that I ran a couple times. Being from Chicago, there's a very large Hispanic population there, and actually worked with tons of Hispanic people in kitchens and stuff like that. So that's where I learned how to make mostly Mexican food, some South American, but mostly Mexican food. And I've just taken that skill set and, came up with a dish.
Well, it was great because it was really balanced. And I feel like, there was chorizo, but what is that sauce? Was it I felt like it was almost a mole, but.
No, it's actually just a charred tomato salsa.
Okay.
So it's.
It was pureed though.
Yes.
So it was very smooth and had a good depth of flavor.
Yeah. So it's charred tomatoes, onions, garlic, jalapeno, and then lime juice, avocado, cilantro, and salt. That's all it is.
It was perfect. And we're going to need it because, I'm not going to do the 8.5 mile hike because I'm a food writer. I'm not an outdoor writer. So
I would not do that either.
I can't take that. I can't do that all day. I'll just lay flat after. Yeah. But we are going to do the hike down to the waterfalls. And I wonder, have you gotten more into the outdoors working here? Do you have the opportunity to enjoy the environment at all while you're here?
I do. I don't that much. My problem is I have really bad knees. And it being as hilly as it is here, it actually is pretty painful for me. So I do get out as much as I can, but again, with the shot knees, it doesn't help me out at all.
Too many days at the low boy, right? Too many up and downs?
No, actually, it's sports as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
I was catcher in baseball, goalie in hockey. I played...
Catcher in baseball alone?
Yes.
Yeah.
But then I also played volleyball from 5th grade all the way through college. I was in gymnastics. I mean, all I did was destroy my knees.
But
Oh, and downhill skiing, too.
Oh, yeah. No, that's only knees.
Yep.
So it's interesting to me. I had another chef on recently, or this season, Vandy Vanderwalker, who is in Charleston, and he is a big sports guy. And he said that's why he really gravitated toward being a chef, because he's a kinetic person. He needs to move. He needs that activity and that structure within the activity. Did you always want to be a chef?
No. I actually went to University of Western Illinois to go to criminal justice. And I wanted to be a cop. And a night that I'm not going to talk about kind of changed that. So I had to pick different major. I changed to RPTA and was in that for a little while. And then they told us how much money you could make. And I didn't like that. And so 3 Fs and a D later, I went back home and didn't know what I was going to do. I took a job at Target, and just working the service counter at Target. And then my mom actually was talking to a good friend of hers whose son started at the culinary school at Kendall College, which formerly was in Evanston. Then they moved down to Goose Island, and then now National Louis bought them out. So now they're on Michigan Avenue in Chicago, who was really enjoying it. And my mom knew I like to mess around with food a little bit. And she's like, why don't you just go check it out? It's worth a shot, And I went down, met some of the instructors. It seemed like a really cool thing. And, 27 years later, met the swag. So
yeah, well, this is, no offense to Target customer service, but this is a little bit of a different view.
Yeah.
On a day to day, even if you can't get out and hike, you can look out the window and check it out. Well, it's kind of sports, like, because you got a game and you can calibrate. And then if you don't like it the next time, you can adjust, right? There's always something to learn.
Well, it's essentially like being a coach or a quarterback, because you have a team below you. And,
that's true.
You give out the orders and they do it,
Just like that. Well, this is a great place to land. And like you said, it's a great place for the guests to land. Don't know how I ended up here, but I'm going to enjoy it until I have to leave. What's making you hungry? What are you interested in now? I mean, this has been such a great challenge of 27 years to get to where you are. What's percolating? What's creatively making you interested?
Every day is interesting for me. I love the fact that every day creates a new challenge, be it difficult or easy. It doesn't matter what it is. There's always a new challenge every day. And the fact that, we're at a place where we have 100% autonomy on what we do. I run breakfast specials every day, and so we had a couple vegans in house, and I'm like, all right, breakfast special for vegans doesn't have to be 100% vegan, but could be able for them. And so that's, how I came up with today's special. Every day I've got to look at that because we have a sheet in the back that gives all of our guest dietary concerns. And I want to make sure that I can cover, for the most part, everybody on that sheet. Obviously, there's sometimes, there are things that I can't 100% cover.
Right.
But, we will make it work for them. The creative freedom here is fantastic. And being able to work with, local producers and my new sous chef, she actually just got promoted yesterday, Ray. She works at Apiary and Orchard in Canton. And we've grown a really good business with KT's in Canton, where we're getting all of our apples, our pears, our berries. We get our honey from her. And then she actually pulls vegetables out of her own personal garden to sell to us too. So, it's things like that that make it pretty awesome.
What's one aspect of this job that really meshes like a puzzle piece with an aspect of your personality better than the cop?
Sometimes we grind pretty hard here. Having a la carte with no reservations, we can get hit pretty hard. And I kind of excel at that. So, and you didn't get to see me at Picnic, unfortunately, but I mean, it's like that up at Picnic because I cook smash burgers to order up there for the guests.
You're making me really regret not getting up at 5 a.m. But I
told Ariel to have you come here. I told her.
I know. And she said, please try to make it. But it's just really hard for me to get out in the middle of the week. I mean, I have a podcast that produces every Friday. Yeah. So I had to get my podcast ready for this Friday to spend Friday with you.
Oh, awesome.
So
I used to really not enjoy the grind because it was so hard and long. At my last two jobs, they were pretty aggressive. I was at the Grove Park Inn for 5.5 years, running almost $10 million worth of food and beverage. And then before that in Chicago, I was at the Signature Room. I was the executive sous chef there. And that was $20 million a year, food and beverage. So, I mean, we would serve 650 covers for the dinner service in 4 hours.
Oh my God. I can't even imagine how to build that walk-in, much less how to deal with that. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, the walk-in turned about every 2 days. That's how you do it.
That's insane.
Yeah. But the nice thing was we had a purchasing.
Everything was fresh. I mean.
Yeah. Well, we had a purchasing down in the basement, and they had 3 walk-in coolers and a walk-in freezer down there. So, but I mean, every day it was pallets upon pallets upon pallets delivered, and then it was just gone by the end of the day.
Wow. Yeah.
Because I had 50 cooks, 5 sous chefs, executive pastry and pastry sous. We had like 50 stewards up there in that kitchen. The stewards ran 3 shifts and then the cooks ran 2. And it was a beast of a job. And it was good. I enjoyed it. My second mentor, Pat Sheeran, he was my chef there. And I learned a lot about seasonability and locality of food from him. Because being up in Chicago, you think the big concrete jungle and the windy city that it is. Well, if you just go up north into Wisconsin or just over into Indiana and Michigan, there's some incredible farms out there.
Yeah, and it's really not that far as the crow flies across the lake. But yeah. And
then the Green City Market, which is one of the biggest markets in the country, downtown Chicago, that's where we got the majority of our produce. And it was kind of laughable some days because of our volume. We'd go there to pick up and you'd be in front of, a woman drinking her Starbucks, pushing her kid and walking her dog. And she's like, all right, I'll take a bunch of asparagus. And we're like, all right, we're here for our 400 pounds of asparagus.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, okay, well, I should get ahead of you for my one before you take the rest of it.
But yeah, I mean, I've had fun jobs and I've enjoyed, a lot of my jobs. That was eye-opening to me because before that I was only in country clubs. And I hadn't worked in a restaurant that was open to the public since I was in culinary school. And so that was a totally different animal, and seeing different people,
But here the grind comes with reciprocation. When you're feeding 650 people a day, you're focusing on that next day all the time. The execution the next day, it's head down, and you never look up. You never get that moment of somebody peeking through the pass and going, thanks for breakfast. Yeah. Or having that moment in the bright sunshine making smash burgers. And so maybe that's part of the reason why the grind is better here, because you didn't realize you needed that maybe a little bit at this stage in your career.
Exactly. And the thing you got to remember too is there's only 35 people here. So it's like, the grind's going to end. Yeah. And it's like, all right, we're just going to hump this out and put it out, obviously still maintaining quality and everything there. But, when I was at the Grove Park expoing, 2 restaurants at the same time, you never knew, that printer never stopped. And so you just never knew when it was going to end. And then finally all of a sudden 9:30 rolls around. You're like, oh my God, where did the rest of the day go?
Right.
And,
right. There's only so many days you can do that.
Yep. I tried for the last 3 years I was there to get out of there. And, to me, it was worth it to come here. Mm-hmm. So,
what's one thing that's keeping you up at night?
Right now, staffing, just because we're short 3 people. I'm not worried about burning my staff out, because even though we're short, they're still only working 5 days a week. I'm the only person that works any more than that. And that's just because, I run the show. It's my show to succeed at. So, it's just really finding staff and, really nothing else. I've got a great life outside of here. I've got a great family, so.
Well, it's a pretty place to live.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Especially since you've been here for years. You have a great network of people too.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have a dream meal scenario question that I ask only Southern Fort guests, and it has to do with a magic picnic basket. And today I'm going to get a picnic from you and take it up the mountain. But in this picnic basket, I can time travel for you. I can go back and ask anybody to make one more bite of something you wish you could taste again. I can source for you, and I can cook a little bit, though I'm going to have to really amend the amount of time I keep my chicken in the flour dredge moving forward after this conversation. So I'd love to bring you some of your favorite things. They don't have to go together. I had a guy recently just do only meat. So what can I put in that basket for you?
Does it have to be food specific, or can it be like an experience?
I need some food. We want to know you through your food a little bit, what you like, but make it the experience too. It's all you.
Okay. Definitely poulet rouge. Definitely beef tri-tip.
Which I'm eating tonight.
Oh yeah. It's so good. Mick Klug's asparagus from Southern Michigan. Best asparagus I've ever had in my entire life. Stone fruit from Seedling Fruit up in Michigan. I miss that.
So peaches and plums.
Peaches and plums and nectarines. And oh my God, it was so good. Central Indiana sweet corn. I miss that. Absolutely miss that. The corn here is not even close. Absolutely. Not even the Silver Queen. It just doesn't compare. I don't know what it is. Amish watermelon from northern Indiana. Part of my family lived in Indiana, so I frequented there. My dad had a lake house in northeastern Indiana.
Yeah, I've been to Lake Maxinkuckee there.
Cool. But there was a big Amish community in there. It was the second largest one outside of Pennsylvania. And you could just drive by their house and they just have a sign up bread. Walk out there, grab the bread. It's still warm out of the oven. Like it was a cool place to go. And this is being a kid. I didn't realize that would make a food memory for me, at the time.
Right, and that's kind of informing your palate that you're building, and you had no idea.
Yeah, exactly. Sourdough bread from Owl Bakery in Asheville. Just oh my God, that stuff's so amazing. Spiny lobster from down in the Caribbean.
Just with drawn butter.
I don't put butter on it. I like it straight up.
Nice.
Yeah, I like it straight up.
Yeah. I had a butter soup this year with lobster.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is basically like the drawn butter.
Yeah.
Like flipped instead of just a little butter and a lot of lobster. It was a lot of butter and a little lobster.
Interesting.
It was amazing and different, but my stomach said, please don't eat that again this year.
Yeah. It sounds like it was just a beurre blanc with a bunch of lobster thrown in.
It was, yeah.
Probably any of the seafood that I had when I was in Spain. Not one of it stands out. It was just so all excellent. We had these snails that just tasted of the ocean. And oh my God, they were beautiful. And my mother-in-law, who's a really picky eater and kind of a meat and potatoes type person, I got her to eat them and she actually enjoyed the hell out of it. It was beautiful.
That's a life goal right there.
Yeah. The jamón ibérico from Spain. God, that was so good. if you've never been, go to Spain. Spain is amazing.
Spain is the way to eat.
Yes,
yeah,
it's beautiful.
for sure.
I think that could sum up,
Good. And are you a wine, beer, or other beverage type person?
I love wine, but because of my stomach, I can't drink it all that often. It's just too acidic for me. But being in, Beer City, USA, yes, I enjoy beer. Lately, there's this, brewery called Zillicoa. It's, just off the, French Broad River, like down the street from, UNC Asheville. And, they've got this one, and it's an Austrian style lager, and it is perfect porch pounding. It's like 4.2%. Nice and light, but it's still got good flavor to it.
Yeah, sounds delicious.
Yeah, it's very tasty.
Well, if people want to learn more about Chef Jake and see if you can get on the wait list to have a stay at the Swag in Waynesville, North Carolina, you can go to thesouthernfork.com. I'm going to have links there as well as images so you can see the face behind the voice. Yeah, it's from Chicago, but he knows how to make fried chicken. So check it out. If you like what you hear, there are more than 295 other interviews in the archives, and every week is different. And that is really my life as a food writer. And I'm thrilled to let you behind the scenes on a Thursday morning in Waynesville, North Carolina, sitting outside a beautiful wine cellar with mountain breezes outside the window. So thanks so much for taking the time on.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Hello and welcome to Talking with My Mouth Full. I mentioned in the introduction that the Swag offers easy access to the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, and in reality, they share a mile-long border. Now, this is the most visited national park in the U.S., and it spans the ridge and the border between Tennessee and North Carolina. And it was really one of the deciding factors beyond just the amazingness of the Swag. One of the deciding factors for me to work this into my schedule, because the longer and longer I do this work and travel around the South, the more and more I am fascinated by biodiversity. And the Great Smoky Mountains National Park is a global center for plant biodiversity. I know we can take it for granted, those of us that grew up close by to this, but it really is a treasure trove of plants. There are more than 1,600 varieties of flowering plants in that forest. And because I was there just a couple weeks ago, right at the very end of summer, right before fall, we were seeing the leaves change just at the top of the ridges. I was really fascinated by a lot of its non-flowering plants. Now, some parts of the Blue Ridge Mountains are actually designated rainforest. And so this particular park, it just blew my mind. And you can get to it so quickly from the Swag. And it's hard for me to even explain the feeling, but it is almost as if you are being enveloped by the forest. There are mosses and lichens and fungi and molds. I saw this just beautiful moss covering the entire trunk of a fallen tree, just almost the entire tree. And then it had just colonized and it was growing up another tree. So many mushrooms, and I saw Whittier fungus. And then I also saw something that I really wish I'd taken a photo of, and it was clear jelly at the base of a tree. I'm not saying that was appetizing. It kind of looked a little freaky and a lot gross, but I think it might have been a jelly fungus or a slime mold. It was crystal clear, almost like a clear sea cucumber, and it was fascinating. I didn't take a photo of it because I was a lot more concerned with my footing in the park than I was with my photography. I was trying to drink it all in without falling to my death on a rock and slipping. I went down into kind of a ravine that held a waterfall, and you had to hold on to ropes to get down into it. So I didn't want to hold my iPhone on top of everything else. You get it. Sometimes things are just better experienced than documented. And I cannot wait to return to this park. If you get a chance to visit, I would highly recommend it. If you're like me, you love a day hike, but you love a beautiful place to lay your head at the end of the day in a very comfortable bed. Well, I mean, there was nothing like getting back after hours of hiking and getting clean in a bathroom with heated floors. That feels good on tired hiking feet. And that was just one of the details that I wish I could always experience, but I experienced at the swag on my visit. So I'll be here next time, but until then, you can probably imagine me staring at small plants in my neighborhood and making my neighbors think I'm even weirder than ever. Take care. Be safe out there.
You've been listening to The Southern Fork. I can't wait to bring you more culinary conversations. But in the meantime, I have one question. Are you going to eat all that?